Welcome, everyone, to Chasing the Truth. It is currently my YouTube channel, and this is going to be me talking about a lot about football, basically. I wanted to talk a little bit about baseball and other sports, but I feel like football is the one that I'm the most knowledgeable about, and baseball as well. But with that wrapping up, I figured football is the thing to talk about the most. I got it playing behind me because for me, it's 24/7. I want to make a career out of it. I want to be an NFL analyst and eventually a GM for a football team or a scout. It doesn't matter what is what. For me, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are trying to make content regarding football, but I want to show you a different side and a different perspective of how to look at things compared to what other people do. For me, I know that I look at things a lot differently than what other people do because when they look at it, they want to be biased with what they're doing. And for me, I'm trying not to be like that. I'm trying to be neutral with everything. I am a big Browns fan. I have been my entire life, and not just recently, but I will be as neutral as I can when it comes to this. I know that there's a lot of hardcore fans out there that want to claim that I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I look at the stats, I analyze the highlights, I look at every possible detail, and I go into depth about everything that I can, stat wise, with a whole bunch of different players and a whole bunch of different athletes. Getting into it now, we'll talk about these past week games. I know that we just had the Chiefs and the Giants play yesterday, which, looking at both ends, I think the Giants are not that far off from being a high caliber playoff team in the next year or two. Granted, now, is Joe Judge the answer as head coach? I really don't know. I cannot definitively say that with him. I think he's got these guys playing at a great level. It's just a matter of actually having the Giants have the firepower and the weapons stay healthy for Daniel Jones to go out there and compete the way he does. He had Darius Slayton yesterday, he had Kyle Rudolph, and he had Evan Ingram. Those were his only three weapons that he had: two tight ends and a wide receiver. Kadarius Toney was in and out of the lineup. He wasn't in there consistently because he did get hurt. Although, as a rookie, Kadarius Toney was one of the high caliber wide receivers coming out of this past draft, and frankly ranked, I think, fifth or sixth out of all of them. And I think that he's proven that he could be the guy, but they are without Saquon Barkley. They are without Kenny Galladay, and that offensive line is atrocious for the Giants. Now, the defense for them has stepped up big, but the thing is, I think their offense still could use a little work, and their offensive line, especially protecting Daniel Jones. Now, when you've got a guy like Daniel Jones, I still don't think that he is the answer. I still think that they need to go out and pick somebody up in free agency or draft somebody. I still think Cam Newton's available. They could go out and get him. And yes, he is a step up from Daniel Jones. Whoever thinks otherwise needs to look at how it is. A healthy Cam Newton with weapons around him is a lot better than current Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones has more turnovers and just is inconsistent with how he plays. You give Cam Newton the weapons that the Giants have with Galladay, Kadarius Toney, Saquon Barkley when healthy, and Cam can take off and compete with that team. Not to mention he has not played since last year, so he is fully healthy and ready to go. Looking at the opposite end of the ball, the Chiefs, they still have the high-powered offense that everybody wants. They got Mecole Hardman, they got Robinson, they got Tyreek Hill, they got Travis Kelce, which, my opinion, is the best tight end in football. Whoever thinks it's George Kittle is smoking something, because George Kittle used to be, or at least he used to be, second in my eyes. Travis Kelce has had 4 1,000-yard seasons back to back to back to back, and I know that you're going to say it's because of Patrick Mahomes. Well, maybe he's just that good of a tight end and the best one in the league. But when you have an offense like that, it's hard to, not score and not do well like the Chiefs have. The only reason why they aren't doing as well as what everybody expected them to do is because their defense is lackluster. They need to draft a lot of pieces. They need to pick some up in free agency, and that Madden cover curse is getting to Mahomes badly this year. He's got the most interceptions in the league right now. And frankly, he is not playing at the MVP type level that he had, the Super Bowl type level that he had. And frankly, I still think he is capable of being the best quarterback in the league and could be. But right now, currently, I think that honor goes to Aaron Rodgers for the best quarterback in the league. And Mahomes is definitely still in the top 5. His talent alone, you cannot knock him for that. He is one of the best in the league. Going to the Bengals and Jets game, the Bengals got humbled badly. I mean, the Jets, they went in there thinking that they could absolutely annihilate and destroy the Jets when I don't think that that is the case. I think that you have a team that is fighting under Robert Saleh, and Zach Wilson has been making plays here and there. And yes, he's been inconsistent, but I think that you give him time, you give him the right offense, and make Mike LaFleur just work with his footwork and make the plays suited more for him. I think that he could do a lot better in that system and be the guy that they're looking for. But Mike White looked absolutely amazing. 3 touchdowns, 405 yards. Like, you're telling me that that's the Jets team that has been looking awful the past couple weeks? No, I think that if Mike White does continue, they might have to look into keeping him at quarterback and figuring out what they're going to do with Zach Wilson, because they wasted a second overall pick drafting the guy for no reason if they don't think that he is the guy. And I think that he could have the success. You just got to get him, humbled down a little bit. You got to get him settled down, because I think that he's reading the field good. It's just he's making these dumb decisions and dumb plays because he wants to try to live up to that hype of being the number 2 overall pick and trying to be the guy that everybody wants him to be. And I don't think that's the case. I think that, he is talented enough to be a starting quarterback in this league and talented enough to be successful. It's just you got to do it right. And the Bengals, man, losing to the Jets. I mean, if you are as good as you say you are and you beat the Baltimore Ravens, then you definitely should have won against the Jets. But I mean, it's like I said, I keep telling everybody this all the time. You stop Jamar Chase and you can win against the Bengals, because that offense right now is running through Jamar Chase. It's running through a little bit through Joe Mixon, but mostly through Jamar Chase. And if you stop him, you win the game. Bottom line. That's why the Browns play them next week. I think that if we have Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome, who possibly is the best corner that was taken out of this past draft, he's playing like it and shutting down every pass that comes his direction. But if they can shut down Jamar Chase, we will win that game. We will bounce back, and we will not have the awful performance like we did this week against the Steelers. That was just, we'll just transition into that game because I wanted to talk a little bit about it. And I wanted to let this be known right now. Anybody that is talking trash and awful about Baker Mayfield, he was not the reason that they lost that game yesterday or 2 days ago. They lost that game because of a poor performance from his weapons around him. Jarvis Landry drops a ball on the 25-yard line and fumbles it when that could easily have been the turning point of the game, and we were still driving. We still had time left on the clock, and they were not stopping us at that moment. Baker was shredding them down the field, and he holds onto that ball. We're on the 20 or 25-yard line, and we have a chance of scoring again and going up. But he fumbles that ball. The Steelers get it back. They get 3 out of it, and then eventually later on get a touchdown out of it. So Denzel Ward went out in that game. You had Greedy Williams come in for him. Greg Newsome was shutting down Deontay Johnson for most of the game, and then they switched him with Claypool, and then Johnson had that big run when Greedy took over. So I think that hurts. I mean, we are still injured. We still have Baker having a torn labrum, and that'll linger all season long. He was playing with the brace to help minimize the damage on his shoulder. We were also without our right tackle, Jack Conklin, and our running back, Kareem Hunt. And we were also missing JOK on the defensive side of the ball, which was an absolute steal in the second round of this past draft. And I know that you're all going to say excuse. Injuries don't matter. Every team has injuries. Yes, every team has injuries. But for those of you that watch football and know the knowledge of football, injuries play a big factor into how somebody performs and plays. You can still play on an injury and you can still perform with an injury, but you ain't going to perform at the high level and the caliber that you always used to. And not only that, missing one player due to an injury could impact your entire football team tremendously. Okay, whether or not he's half injured or he's out completely or just even banged up a little bit, the performance is monstrous, and you can tell. Don't even sit there and deny it, and don't even sit there and say like it's an excuse. Every team has injuries. Yes, but you're telling me that the Giants without Saquon Barkley aren't much better. The Panthers without Christian McCaffrey aren't much better. The Titans have lost Derrick Henry, and you're telling me that they're not going to be a lot better without Henry, because they are. I mean, if we had Hunt in that game, it's a different story. We had JOK in that game, it's a different story. You know, these pieces that we're missing really hindered us and really hurt us to the point to where we couldn't recover from it. But Baker went 21 of 30 with 6 drops and 0 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. Like, I'm sorry, at this point, all these people want to hate on Baker for not performing and not playing as well as what they thought. But look at all the circumstances that he's had when he came into the league. He's had 3 different head coaches, 4 different offensive coordinators, and he's been trying to learn from different systems every single year. He didn't have stability on the offense, and he did not have stability in the front office. They have finally got that with Kevin Stefanski. They have finally got that with Andrew Berry. And they have finally had a coach where it's been back-to-back seasons with Baker. And you're talking about a guy who came in and completely changed him. And if you go back to last year, looking at how he played after Odell went down, and it's proven that he's been playing better without Odell. After Odell went down, he played like the best quarterback in the National Football League. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at his stats. He played like that. And people want to sit here and say that he's barely top 15, barely top 20. My opinion, he's not top 10. He hasn't proved it yet. He's 12 or 13 at best. He is ahead of Kirk Cousins. He is ahead of Derek Carr. I will give him that. But he is not top 10. Not yet. And if he continues and he pulls off wins and rattles them off against the Ravens and the Bengals and the Packers and everything towards the end of the season, then he will show all of you guys that he is exactly what this team is looking for. I think what they need to do is they need to get rid of they need to get rid of Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. I mean, at the end of the season, they're already looking about that, but get some weapons in there, start off fresh, let Baker build the chemistry with these new guys, and just build for the future. I mean, he's already built up a rapport with Donovan Peoples-Jones, and that is, frankly, the best receiver that we've got at this moment. And it is time to get rid of Odell. He has not performed, and I think that, if you have him on the team, it's cancerous to Baker's development, and it's just cancerous to the team because he is not performing. And you could blame Baker for that, but he's given him every opportunity this year to make plays, and he hasn't done anything. There's been quite a few times where he's thrown the ball on a 4th and 2 play and like right to his hands, and he's just dropped it. So get rid of him. The other side of the ball, the Steelers looked great. I mean, again, you've got guys like TJ Watt and Stephon Tuitt and Cameron Hayward, Joe Hayden, Minka Fitzpatrick, Devin Bush. That defense is stout. On the offensive side of the ball, I mean, they scored 15 points. We only scored 10, which it should have been more, honestly. We were always putting up 20-plus points a game, but they scored 15 points, giving them enough to win the game. But honestly, this is Big Ben's last ride. I have seen this guy play for so many years now, and I think that, it is time for them to move on. Put Dwayne Haskins in after the season. Let him see what he can do. Being under Mike Tomlin now, maybe he'll be able to discipline him a little bit more. I don't know. But it is Big Ben's last year. and I don't think the Steelers will make the playoffs. I think they will still have a winning record, and I don't think that they'll have a losing record. Tomlin's only had one losing season under his coaching career, or maybe had none, if I can remember correctly. But the Steelers are, what everybody expected. They are probably the worst in the division. And yes, I know that the Browns are sitting last right now in the division, but that will change after this next week when we beat the Bengals, and towards the middle of the season when the Steelers get beat again. It's all a matter of time. We will finish either second in the division or on the top of the division, and that's not me being biased. That is just me being absolute facts. If we can get everybody back healthy and Baker can play good enough to where he's not going to cause us any problems, or his shoulder's not going to have any issues, we'll be all right. Going to the Buffalo-Miami game, there's really not much to look at in this one. I mean, it's Buffalo being Buffalo like always. I still think that they are missing one piece on offense for them to be that high caliber, explosive team that is going to be a true threat to everybody, and that is a great running back. They got the offensive weapons that they need. They got Dawson Knox, who is a serviceable tight end and pretty decent at best. They've got Stephon Diggs. They got Cole Beasley. They got Emmanuel Sanders, great wide receiver. And they got a great offensive line. They got a good defense. They could use another stud corner opposite of Tre'Davious White. And they could use another safety opposite of Micah Hyde. But honestly, the Bills, the only weapon that they are missing yet is a running back. And without having a running back, then I think that, your chances of winning are slim. I mean, they will still compete. They will still make it to the AFC Championship and possibly the Super Bowl this year. But you still need that explosive, dynamic player like a running back to carry you and propel you into the future. I think Josh Allen is playing at an MVP type level. He is playing with that contract that is worth what they want. And frankly, I think he is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. I mean, I'm sorry. Lamar, to me, still has some stuff that he's got to prove throwing-wise, being consistent throwing, and also showing it in the playoffs. I mean, this man has not shown in the playoffs that he can perform at a high level and still win. Like, he won last year off of a 72-yard touchdown run. Run, mind you. Not a throw, a run. He has shown me this year that he can throw a little bit, but, it's been inconsistent. You look back at the Bengals game when they played, he only put up 17 points. His throws were off. His timing was off. Everything was off with him. And it, further proved my theory that he is not that good of a throwing quarterback. He is more of a running quarterback, and why he is a running back that can throw the ball, in my opinion. Until Lamar proves me wrong, he's still going to be like that. And for me right now, I've got him ranked 8 in my quarterback rankings. I mean, I had him at 9. I moved him up 1, but he is 8 in my quarterback rankings. The Dolphins, on the other hand, need a lot. They need more help on defense. They need a upgraded offensive line. I think their weapons on offense are pretty decent. They got Mike Gesicki, pretty stable tight end. They got Jalen Waddle. They got Devontae Parker. They got Preston Williams still. The thing is, it's just Tua. Tua is the problem with them. They are not putting up the points that they need. They are being inconsistent and not showing that he is propelling them in the right direction and being the type of guy that they need. And for me, I think that if they do go out and get Deshaun Watson, that puts them over the edge and puts them in the conversation for being true contenders in the AFC. They went from barely missing the playoffs last year with a 10-6 record to not even close to making it this year with a 1-7 record. They've got, I think, 2 first-round picks, and if not, the one that they traded away, they got 1 first-rounder this year. But I thought that they had 2. But either way, you got a chance to trade up in the draft, go draft another quarterback, or use that draft capital to get Deshaun Watson in the offseason. The deal was almost finalized, but the Dolphins owner has hesitated because he isn't sure how the legal allegations are going to go. At this point, I would say go for it, because even if the legal allegations come to be true, you can still get Deshaun Watson, have him play a little bit, and then if he has to get suspended, so be it. Let him serve the suspension the rest of this year, and that way you can get it out of the way for him to come back and play again next year. And the last time that the Dolphins owner passed on a good quarterback is they didn't re-sign Ryan Tannehill. Look what happened. And they also did not sign Drew Brees when he became a free agent, and the Chargers gave up on him. And then look what happened. Went to the Saints, became a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that's the end of the story, you know? So I think that they need to pull the trigger on this Deshaun Watson deal and finally get a quarterback that they can have for the next 10 years for that system. We'll move on to the Indianapolis Colts and Tennessee Titans game. The Colts have one of the best rosters to compete in this league. I mean, they've got the great offensive line. They've got a top 5 offensive line. They got a top 5 defense that is not being utilized properly. They've got a quarterback that has shown that he can win in this league and proven that he could take this team very far. I mean, he's got the coach that took him all the way that way until he tore his ACL in the 2017 season in Frank Reich. They've got a good running back core. They got a good wide receiver core. The only problem that they're showing right now is their defense is not stepping up, and they're missing pieces in the back half of the defense. And Frank Reich is not playing or coaching at the level that he once did. I mean, he has got Wentz switched around like, we all thought he would. And I told my friends who are Colts fans, and they were nervous about Carson Wentz being the quarterback at first, but he has stepped up big and played way for them. And frankly, I think that was probably one of the best decisions that they had, picking him up in the offseason. But, they need to get rid of Frank Reich. He needs to go after this season. They need to get somebody new in there. And I think that the Colts have the ability to possibly make a playoff run if they can continue winning and do pretty good. I mean, Wentz has played well. They went to overtime with the Titans. It's just that one bad play really cost them, and the Titans took advantage of it. Now, the Titans, on the other hand, they've got Julio Jones. They got A.J. Brown. They have not utilized either of them very well this year. It's a run-heavy offense that has gone through Derrick Henry. And with him being out now for 6 to 10 weeks, I wonder how they're going to, live up to the hype, the expectation, and everything that they are, with them being a run-heavy team. And now bringing in Adrian Peterson, yes, he is one of the most dynamic elite runners of our generation, but he is 37 years old, 38 years old, and he is not, the type of guy that can sit there and handle 30-plus carries a game like what Derrick can. So we'll have to wait and see, but I think the Titans are going to do a little bit of a drop-off just because they don't have Derrick Henry, and we'll just have to wait and see. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about right now is because, I want to save a little bit for the next stream. A little bit of the NFL thought that the Lions were going to have a decent season this year, and myself included. I thought that they would win at least a few games. Jared Goff has that NFL experience. He would be able to, propel this team a little bit and at least knock out 5 wins. I mean, that's still possible. They still got quite a few games left on their schedule, but their schedule is tough coming up. And, their best chance to win was this past week against the Eagles, and the Eagles absolutely annihilated them. I don't think that Dan Campbell is a bad coach. I think that he is a good coach, and he's got them playing at a level that nobody thought possible. They are still fighting for him. They are still, laying out on the line for him. It's just their players need to step up. They've also been having some unfortunate luck when it comes to plays. I mean, Justin Tucker making that 66-yard field goal in the dome against the Lions, bouncing off the uprights and going in, was luck going to the Ravens and not to the Lions, which, mind you, the Ravens should be about 3-2 or 3-3 right now, maybe 3-4, because they should have lost to the Chiefs because of a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble. is what caused the Ravens to win that game, and then the field goal is what caused them to win against the Lions. So as of this moment, they should be 3-4 instead of 5-2. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, their team is not as good as what people think it is, and everybody's overhyping the Ravens and overhyping the Bengals. But I think that the most complete team in that division, when healthy, is the Ravens and the Browns. But, this year we haven't proven it, and we have to step up in the next few games to be able to show it. But anyway, back to the Lions. Jared Goff is not the answer at quarterback. And this draft, they've got a lot of quarterbacks, but it's not the quarterback crop that we had last year or even the year before that, or even the year before that when you had like Baker and Darnold and Allen and all that. This is not what, we were looking for. And to be honest, the best quarterbacks that I see out of this draft is Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and Malik Willis. I mean, those are the four. Desmond Ridder still is probably going to be a work in progress. You'll need to sit him half the season, or at least, let him learn under a savvy veteran and learn the offensive system, let him learn the NFL and everything. Now, people are already speculating that Kayvon Thibodeau, the defensive end out of Oregon, is going to be the number 1 overall pick. And yes, the defensive end and a defensive player could be the franchise turning point or could be the cornerstone and turning point of your franchise. But my opinion, that quarterback propels your team and your offense for the next 10 to 15 years. And if you don't find the right one, you're still going to be looking. Now, yes, they could build that team on defense this year and try to build the offense in free agency. I'd release Goff, get out from under that massive contract that you got. And you could try to go after Watson. You could try to go after Wilson. You could try to go after Rodgers. You could try to go after a lot of these guys. They've got the draft capital to do it. They got 2 picks in 2022, 2 picks in 2023 for the first round. They got 2 picks in the second round for 2022 and 1 pick in the second round for 2023. They've got the picks to do it. I mean, 2 first rounders. Right now, the Lions are looking at the number 1 overall pick and the number 30 pick, or 28 or something. And I think that what they need to do is they need to draft quarterback with that first pick, draft defense with that second pick in the first round, and then, do a mixture of offense and defense, or at least get some offensive weapons in free agency, go defense or go quarterback with that first pick, and then go defense the rest of the draft. I mean, they are missing a lot of pieces. They could use a lot of pieces everywhere. And not having Jeff Okudah this year, having a torn Achilles, really hurts them. And just picking up Penei Sewell on that offensive line really assured them that offensive line could be good. And, DeAndre Swift is playing at a high level, being one of the premier backs in the league, going to be stepping up and playing at a high level in the near future. And frankly, is doing a lot better than what people thought. I was the one that stepped up and said that, this guy's going to be good. He's going to be playing at a high level. And everybody bashed on me, thought that I was crazy, looking at me funny, but he's been putting up the numbers this year because of that offensive line. They've got no offensive firepower. They've got no weapons. They got no deep threat. They got nothing. So they've got the picks to do something. The Lions just need to step up and do it. And last thing I'm going to talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles. They got potentially 3 picks in the first round to do whatever they need to. They've got, an aging offensive line, so they could go offensive line with that. The question is Jalen Hurts the answer at quarterback? My opinion, it's too early to tell. I mean, give him the rest of the season, see how it plays out. If he does not pan out the way that you want him to be, then they need to move on from him. I mean, bottom line there. They could use another all-star weapon. They hit a gold mine in Devontae Smith, but I think that they could use another weapon. They could go out and get a tight end, even though they still got Dallas Goedert. Who knows? They could use a lot of players on defense. Darius Slay is getting a little up there in age. They could use a corner opposite of him. They could use a safety. They could use a linebacker. They could use a little bit more defensive line because that is aging. They got a lot of help that they could use. but the Eagles are still a scrappy team. They're still putting up the numbers and they're still producing. I mean, putting up 44 against the Lions. I mean, at this point, anybody could put up numbers against the Lions, but regardless, they're still playing at a decent level. They're second place in the division. I think they're 3-5 right now, 3-4, something like that. But I think the future is very bright for Philly, and I think that they've got a coach in Nick Sirianni that could propel them to the future. And who knows, maybe the Eagles are going to take over the division next year. But right now, the Dallas Cowboys are running away with it, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon, especially if Dak's healthy. If he goes down at any point this season, the Eagles could overthrow the Cowboys for the division lead and make the playoffs that way. But they will be a first-round exit, no doubt about it, because with the NFC being so stacked, with the Rams being 7-1, the Cardinals being 7-1, the Packers being 7-1, the Bucks being 6-2, and the Rams being 7-1, like, you have two teams out of the NFC West that are competing for the division and competing for a wild card spot. And I think that, frankly, I still think the Rams are going to come out on top in that division, especially now getting Von Miller, pairing him with Aaron Donald on the defensive line. I mean, it'll free up Donald, but it might also free up Von Miller with Donald getting triple teamed. But, having that help there will really help Donald out a lot, because he'll be able to get through the hole a lot more. He'll have a lot more one-on-ones or a lot less double team and triple teams. And if he is, then Von Miller will come off the edge. Pairing those two up will be great. And the Rams do not have a first round or second round pick for this draft, and not even a first rounder for next year's draft. They don't have a first rounder until the 2024 draft. And that is absolutely insane. But that is all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in on the stream, and thank you for, listening to the football knowledge I have. If you have any questions, make sure that next time put the questions in the box for the stream, and I will answer the questions that you have and explain my reasoning behind a lot of the stuff, because I look at things a different way than what other people do, and I look at the facts and the numbers rather than, going based off of opinion. I want to be an NFL analyst. I want to be live on television, debating and arguing back and forth with people. That is what I want to do for a living. I need you guys to help me reach my career goals, and I need you to help me get this success that I need. I can't do it without all of you and all of your help, and just to help me propel my streaming channel and help me propel this YouTube channel into fame, so that way I can get recognized and start talking to big name people. I graduated from the University of Toledo in May with a media communications degree, and I am just looking to, further my future in the career of sports. Professional, college, it doesn't matter. I just want to do something with sports, and I need your guys' help. Thank you so much.